from the last video, I've stripped out several of the slats from the Venetian blinds, a bit on the long side, 6 foot long, little tiny slits in there. You can see that? Right, that's where the cord for the Venetian blind used to go. Now what you've got to do to make sure that these don't sneak into the whole production process of building your model ship, it's best to take them out. Okay, and there's only one way to do that, and that's to cut the wood down to something that's a bit more of a manageable length. Okay, well this is one of the ones I snapped last video. Right, couple of ways of doing it. You can use one of these babies. That's from my toolbox. I've got a home toolkit with the plunger and the saw in case I ever need to put a shelf up or trim a bit off a door. Fits nicely into my toolbox. Bit messy, teeth are a bit harsh, or you can sort of use whatever power tools you've got laying around. A jigsaw will do it, a circular saw, or in my case, one of these babies. Okay, all we've got to do, just hack away. Quick minutes later, I didn't film the whole event, would have found it a little bit boring. Here we go. Now, this represents about half of the slats on a Venetian blind. Okay, that's a 6-inch ruler, 15 centimetres for those of you that no longer do pounds, shillings and pence. There you go. I've got a stack 3.5 inches, which is 90 millimetres or 9 centimetres high, of 3mm thick wood. It's about 2'6" long. That's good. Now, I've got a rough idea what that would have cost me from a hobby shop, okay, because you can't buy this stuff at the builders merchants, not 3mm, right? From a hobby shop or online, that stack there represents somewhere in the region of about £35. Okay, quick translation into dollars, roughly $45, okay, for that. And that was free. It was free from my neighbour. He was glad to see the back of it, and I was glad to get my hands on it. Okay, now let's move on to the next bit, the difficult bit, decisions. Right, haven't had a quick tidy up, put everything into a little order somewhere so we don't get tangled up and cause trip hazards. We don't want people falling over our particular hobby. We want people to fall over because of our hobby. Now, these are the drawings, and as I said, with the scrap piece of wood that I'm using, we're building a bread and butter design ship. Now, I'll not beat about the bush, right? I'm an ex-deckhand off tramp steamers. I will automatically always lean towards that T-clipper. It's my comfort zone. It's what I'm used to. I'm used to sort of the idea of a ship not having guns. I mean, that's the difference between them basically at this level. There's lots of other differences. I've got one of these, the Britannia. Let's get that around that way. Now, very patriotic, the extra yacht for the Queen. It's a really basic build, funny enough, and this one was my most expensive bread and butter build boat that I will eventually make. This one cost 99p. Well, that broke the bank, didn't it? Okay, right, now, because it's so basic, what I can do is save that for later, and I can use up all the scraps. It'd be an interesting little hobby. Probably a couple of days to make one of those. it will take, to be totally honest with you, it will take longer for the paint to dry than it will to actually build. So that's one for later. But I'm not ignorant in the ways of the world, and I know everybody thinks there was only one ship in the days of yore. Oh, let's get there. Yeah, the HMS Victory. Now, to buy a kit for the HMS Victory, they start at around, I have seen them for £15, okay, and I've also seen them for £950. This one, so far, I think this was about 80p this cost me, right? The wood has cost nothing, and the rigging will come from the sewing kit, okay, because I'm not going to waste my money on buying specialist ropes and twines and string for making this model. There's not much point, it makes it uneconomical, and there is a lot that goes on this, a serious amount of rigging. There are no sails on this model, which is just as well, because where do I get my sails from? Let's have a look. In the drawer. This is my materials and sandpaper drawer. When sails are required, you can buy sailcloth online, or you can raid the first aid box. Triangular bandage from the first aid box. Cheap old calico, very easy to use. You can glue it or sew it, it's up to you, it doesn't matter. To shape it, would you believe that the last one I put sails on using this stuff, I used an old toilet roll holder underneath to give me the bow in the sail, and I sprayed it with hairspray. You can go with varnish, you can varnish them, put PVA glue on it, you know, it's endless. So we're going to go and concentrate on the Victory, right? Because I'm sure that you would feel a lot happier with one of these than like Quentin's old T clipper, which, you know, basically I'd like it, but I don't think you would. Right, taking the plans out of the envelope, first thing you need to do is find out what wood you need to actually construct the HMS Victory. This piece here is the keel and the main hull. This is the part that holds it all together. Okay. On here it says it's one piece of 1/8 of an inch. Now, 1/8 of an inch is 2/16, and if you follow my rule of 1.6 from the last video, you'll realise that that is actually just slightly more than 3mm. Or if you use one of the offcuts, it will give you a guide. It's 3mm, there you go. Now, it's not high enough, so what we'll have to do is I'll show you later how we do this. For those of you who've never done it before, we need to join two pieces together like that, okay, and then we cut it down to the length of the hull, and I'll show you how to transfer that shape onto this piece of wood. Trust me when I tell you, pencil is going to be murder, so we don't use pencil on this one. It's either that or we have to clean this wood up. Considering it will probably never see light of day again, the only cleaning up this is going to get is a rub to get all the domestic grime off, you know, sort of like people's breaths, cooking, that kind of thing. In other words, it's going to get washed up. Right? Taking your offcut, which is handy. The next section is here. This is 3/4 inch. The next section's there, that's 3/4 inch. Next section is 3/4 inch, and that's 3/4 inch there as well. Right, those 4 sections. You've got a couple of bolt-on pieces at the back there. That's 3/4 inch again. That's a 1/16 of an inch. which is 1.6. You can get that. You can do it with a piece of cardboard if you wanted to. You can get cardboard that thickness. I probably will use cardboard, okay, because I've got lots of it kicking around, old packing cases, that kind of thing. Now, 3/4 inch, going back to the 1.6 rule, there you go. Right, 3/4 inch is the same as 12/16. 12 times 1.6 is 19.20 millimetres, which, for the benefit of those, is 18 millimetres. Or in other words, I'm going to need 6 bits of 3mm wood, which I shall glue together and then transfer the information on the drawing onto the wood and then cut the wood out. Okay, now I won't lie to you, every time you stick a piece of wood, it will be dryish in 2 hours. The kind of glue that you'll be using, trust me when I tell you on this, you want to leave it for a good 24 hours. Types of glue, right, we've got this stuff, Yoo-hoo, that came from a discount store, pound, and we've got PVA glue. This is the 3rd time this bottle has been filled up. You want to keep hold of the bottles when you get one of these, because when you buy the other glues, you have a PVA woodworking glue, it will come in a cut off top, so you cut the top off and then you've got like sticking nails and bits of old tape over it to stop it drying out. It's much easier to just transfer it into one of these bottles. It's got a nice screw top like that. Clamping the wood, right? When you've got it glued, you're going to need to get it clamped together. Various ways you can do it. You can use a piece of masking tape just to hold it in place. Okay, right, that was 20p, 25p, something like that. Or you can, and then when you've got it wrapped up in the masking tape, pile a load of books on top of it, and that will force the wood together. Or you can splash out on some of these clamps. They're £6 a pair. Yeah, does the job. Tends to be a bit rough, so when you do put the clamp on, make sure you put a piece of wood there and a piece of wood there to take the compression mark, because you don't want compression marks on your wood. Okay, right. Now gluing it is a bit on the boring side. So what I'll do is, I'll get on and start gluing wood together. So, finally, that's the wood, all washed up, dried, ready for action. Now, what you're going to do is a bit on the messy side, okay? But basically, I'm taking 6 of these strips of Venetian blind. I want to stick them together, and that will give me the 3/4 of an inch required to make my model. And this is how I do it, okay? First and foremost, you're going to need to cover up, okay? Old newspaper. Lay your newspaper on the ground, good as any. Get a bit more. Does get messy. A couple more bits. Right, keep that, we'll need that when we've finished. Next, got this, it's some decorators PVA I had to buy a year ago to do the decorating. Had a few problem areas on the walls, right, but this PVA, we're going to use a lot of it, and it's cheap. You can buy cheap bottles of stuff from craft and hobby shops. Okay, this stuff is good enough. Just drop that in there. you're going to use a lot. Okay, let's put that lid back on. Try and stop skin from forming. The thing to remember about PVA is water soluble, which means that it will wash off. Okay, bit of running water. So your first bit of wood, just paint it. Make sure you get it to the sides. You're going to be cutting this. These paintbrushes are absolutely appalling, but they're cheap. You're not going to be painting the Sistine Chapel or anything like that. You're just going to be slapping glue on a bit of wood. All to the sides. Get your next bit, whack it on, line it up. Right, same again. You've got about an hour working with this, but depends on the heat and humidity really. High humidity, it'll take slightly longer to dry. High heat, it'll dry quicker. Get that on there. Don't forget to do right to the ends and the sides. Next bit. Slap it on. What you're actually doing is laminating. This model will actually be stronger than if you made it out of solid wood. You're laying lots and lots of different slats, one on top of the other, plenty of glue. And laminating is one of the strongest ways to build structures out of wood. If you're ever in Cambridge and you fancy a quick dip in the pool, there's a sports centre called the Kelsey Carriage. And over the top of the Kelsey Carriage swimming pool are wooden beams. And if you've got the time, have a look at them. They're just laminated wood. I mean, you do get trees that grow that big. I mean, there's no two ways about it. But the reason why they were able to bridge that gap and hold that roof up was by using laminated wood. There. Right. Let's pop that to one side. I'm going to have to repeat 4 more times. Bit of cloth, always handy, just quickly wipe your hands with it. Now you're not going to need an awful lot of masking tape. Okay, so all you're trying to do is just hold it together. So wrap it round. It's not there to put any pressure on it, it's just to hold it steady. Right. Same at this end. Right. There. And that's all there is to it. And then all you have to do is repeat the process with the others. And then when you're completed, I'll show you what the next step is. Right, there you go. That's it done. Quickly changed the paper. It was getting a bit soggy. We didn't want the newspaper sticking to the wood, so threw the newspaper away. Got another free newspaper. What you need to do now is cover the paper up, cover the wood over with a bit of newspaper like that. Okay. And then you raid your library. You want as many books as you can carry. Okay, just drop them on. Try and get them evenly spaced. Do that. And just keep going. The idea is that you're actually compressing the wood together, much the same way as having clamps. Right. Unload. Yeah, I think that should do it. What you've got to do now is leave that to set. Take about 24 hours, and then I'll show you how to get the information off the drawing onto that bit of wood. Okay, I'll see you then.